Chapter 1306, Snatching Someone's Cherished Items. Walking slowly along the dark quartz corridor, Tang Xiu's eyes constantly swept across the stalls on both sides. His spiritual sense even enveloped all the surrounding areas, observing the items on the stalls and independent shops. He did find some demon stones, but after seeing the things here, he immediately realized that there were better items than demon stones for him, such as demon cores and demon essences. Aside from that, there were still a lot of demon fruits. The one that amazed Tang Xiu the most was that some people were bold enough to sell demon pills. It must be noted that anything that came from the demon realm had always been shunned and rejected by orthodox immortals. Even some people with a sense of justice forcibly killed people who sold such items from the demon realm. Tang Xiu himself did not go to such extremes. In his view, there were many good things in the demon realm. If those objects could be used reasonably, the effect would be much better than its counterpart in the immortal world. Festoon Dragonfly followed Tang Xiu all the time. Although he greeted the stall and shop owners, his eyes lingered on Tang Xiu most of the time. After strolling for some kilometers, the fella finally couldn't help but ask, "Do you have some stalls or shops in mind now, sire? If you're still considering it, I suggest you go to the shop of the great demon Venerable. The price of goods there may be very expensive, but that shop has the most comprehensive and the best goods you can find here." "Take us there, then," said Tang Xiu. "At your wish, sire." Dragonfly then led Tang Xiu and the rest to walk for some hundreds of meters again before he finally stopped outside an independent shop. His eyes glanced at the man at the shop's door and then cried out, "Yao, hairy tooth guy, you gotta spare me your parlor tricky cheat here. I brought you a distinguished patron, so you gotta quickly send a notice to Sir Demon to welcome them, got it?" The guy rolled his eyes at him before glancing at everyone in Tang Xiu's group. Then, he slowly shouted to the interior, "Hey, 18th uncle, you got some patrons. Quickly come out and greet M." A short while after, as Tang Xiu and the rest entered the shop, they saw a fat middle-aged man that looked like a ball of meat lackadaisically came out. One of his eyes opened ever so slightly and swept Tang Xiu and the rest. Then, he asked with a smile, "What would you like to buy, patrons?" Tang Xiu withdrew his spiritual sense because at the moment, they were not the only patrons in the shop, so he replied, "Demon stones, demon essences, demon fruits, demon liquid. Certainly, if you have some good-grade demon pills, I want them too." Big client. Great Demon Venerable was surprised and grinned. "Dear patron, everything you need can be found in this shop. You can go get them directly and we'll just sum up the total price. Of course, I'll give you a discount if you buy in bulk." "Alrighty." Tang Xiu took the interspatial ring from Great Demon Venerable and then walked through the shelves. Then, he put the pieces of demon stones, demon essences, demon fruits and demon liquids into the ring. Everything was already marked with a price tag, so Tang Xiu knew their value. Finally, Tang Xiu stopped in the innermost corner, looking at the dozens of bottles and jars placed on the shelves. A glint flashed in his eyes as he put all the demon pills on it into the ring. Just as he was about to leave the spot, 5 figures suddenly blocked his path. "You don't have to sweep out everything here no matter how rich you are, do you, sir? I really need that miasma poison pill. I've been looking for it in many places before I saw it here." "How about I pay you double the price for it," said a burly man indifferently. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "Sorry, first come first serve. Whoever buys it first will get it. This poison miasma pill also has a great effect on me, so I can't exchange it with you." A cold light flashed in the burly man's eyes, and he indifferently said again, "You haven't paid it yet, have you?" "Not yet, indeed." Tang Xiu nodded. "Since you haven't paid it, it's not yours and still the shop's and subject of bargain to the highest bidder in nature," the burly man said. "I don't want to bother to deal with you, so let's compare our wealth and see who can afford a higher price. How about it?" Tang Xiu shook his head and said, I already put it in the ring, which means that I have the right to purchase it first. You will never get it unless I give it up. Are you looking for death, brat? You must take it out if our young master wants it. Else I'll drive you out of the Green Summit Bazaar. An old man behind the burly man expelled out a strong killing intent that was visible on his face as he shouted. Tang Xiu shot him an indifferent glance. His eyes then shifted on the burly man's face and lightly said, "Did what he say is what's in your mind as well?" The burly man didn't speak, but his cold eyes showed his attitude. Tang Xiu turned to Great Demon Venerable, who came over and lightly smiled. "Who do you want to sell it to, then?" Demon Venerable smiled in response and said, "You both can negotiate. Then come find me to pay the bill." Tang Xiu looked back at the burly man and nodded. "Let me give you some disgrace and shame since you want to compare wealth with me. A bottle of poison miasma pills is valued at 80,000 immortal crystals, while I'll buy it at 800,000. The price is 10 times higher. Would you bid higher than me?" The burly man sneered and said, "I have 1 million immortal crystals here." 2 million, said Tang Xiu. 3 million, followed the burly man again. Tang Xiu slightly frowned and thought for a while. Then, he angrily said, 10 million immortal crystals. Do you still dare to bid? A chilling light gleamed in the burly man's eyes as he stared at Tang Xiu as though he wanted to see through the guy. After a long time, he coldly said, 11 million immortal crystals. Tang Xiu rolled his eyes and muttered to himself, "Are the rich idiots or something? Poison miasma pills are only worth up to 100,000 immortal crystals, yet you still want to pay it for 11 million immortal crystals? Hey, forget it. I'm too lazy to offend you, so might as well give it to you. If you want it, just pay 80,000 immortal crystals. I will say no more." Having said that, he took out the poison miasma pill from the interspatial ring and threw it to the guy. Then, he handed the ring to Great Demon Venerable. He looked at the angry man and lightly smiled, "Check them out. I bought enough things and you gotta know that I'm still pissed off by you. You had better give a preferential price, else I don't mind blowing up what has transpired here today." Great Demon Venerable himself was annoyed by Tang Xiu, seeing him willing to let the other party buy the poison miasma pill for 80,000 immortal crystals, his original price tag. But it was a dispute between Tang Xiu and that man, so he could only suppress the annoyance inwardly. As his spiritual sense swept through the ring, he said, "All will be 64.72 million immortal crystals. You bought so many things here, so I'll give you a discount and waive those 20,000 immortal crystals. Is that your offer?" Tang Xiu frowned and said, "Do you think I lack immortal crystals or something? I'm just upset, so that's the discount for you." Great Demon Venerable coldly sneered. "Take it or leave it." At the side, Dragonfly's expression changed and he interjected in a heavy voice. "Demon Sire, I've always respected you, so I always brought big patrons to your shop. In the recent 50 years, I've brought you at least hundreds of distinguished patrons, sir. Although you did reward me a lot of immortal stones in return, I know you earn much more than me. Sir, it took me a lot of effort to pull all those patrons to you. If you just drive the patron I've brought you away because you're upset, I'll immediately take this sir away and I will never come to your place again in the future." A murderous intent glinted in Great Demon Venerable's eyes as he stared at Dragonfly. He quickly thought inwardly and the cold expression in his heart finally dissipated as he grunted angrily. "You dare threaten me, little bastard? Wonderful, how awesome you are. Fine. 64 million. I'll waive 720,000 immortal crystals, then." Dragonfly glanced at Tang Xiu and saw his indifferent expression. He suddenly gritted his teeth and interjected. "Sir Demon, you know how much I respect you. It can be said that you're my idol. I fantasized countless times to be as powerful and as great as a businessman as you in the future. But I've brought you more than 10 big patrons in the past and I can't imagine how big the profits you earned from them. Hence, drop it to 60 million. Sell it all for 60 million immortal crystals, and I guarantee that I'll bring all the patrons I've drawn to you in the future. Impossible. Great Demon Venerable nearly jumped out and roared angrily. All the profits I got from these shits are not even enough to make up for 4.72 million immortal crystals. How could you make me subtract so much at once? Are you fucking crazy? I won't take any commission from all the patrons I'll bring you in the future. Dragonfly said aloud. Great Demon Venerable's heart skipped a beat and he looked at the guy incredulously, asking, what nonsense are blabbering you? Who the hell do you think you are, punk? Who is this brat? You're willing to cut off your own source of income for him? He's a good man. Dragonfly seriously said, he tipped me a lot more than those people I've met in the past. Further, he never reprimanded or cursed at me and even gave a bit of respect instead. That's why I'm willing to stick up for him. Great Demon Venerable fell into silence and stared at Dragonfly and Tang Xiu. After a while, he shook his head and sighed. Hey, forget it. I won't insist on my previous price. 62 million immortal crystals and that's it. You want it, then quickly pay. Scram at once if you won't take it. Tang Xiu patted Dragonfly's shoulder and directly took out an interspatial ring. He handed it to Great Demon Venerable and said, there are 600,000 crystal essences and 2 million immortal crystals inside. Great Demon Venerable counted it before he finally nodded and said, the number is correct. Pick whatever you want if there's something you still need here. Leave now if you don't need anything else. Tang Xiu glanced at the side, looking at the burly man who looked like he was enjoying watching the bustling scene. He then spoke to the guy, it's better to squash enmity than keeping it alive. We can be said to have no concord without the previous discord. Farewell, we shall meet again in the future if fate wills it. The burly man ignored him while sneering inwardly. A vengeful man as he was, he still remembered the scolding Tang Xiu gave him just now. Chapter 1307 Recollection of the Paw. After leaving the store, Tang Xiu didn't directly leave Green Summit Bazaar. If it wasn't for the conflict with that burly man, he had planned to save some money and keep it for a rainy day. But now, what he wanted to do was spend money crazily, at least clean up all his immortal stones, crystals, and crystal essences for now. This is crazy. Festoon Dragonfly had already realized previously that Tang Xiu was a rich man, but he never thought Tang Xiu's wealth would be this mind-blowing. In just 3 days, he secretly calculated the sum of money Tang Xiu spent. The total number of Tang Xiu's spending had exceeded hundreds of millions of immortal crystals. That was hundreds of millions, a billion, for God's sake. Despite having heard that many superpowerful people had wealth in the hundreds of millions of immortal crystals, Dragonfly never imagined that some people would just spend so much wealth in just a few days. It's pretty much done. Tang Xiu was satisfied when they left a store. The aftermath of spending hundreds of millions of immortal stones was that he no longer needed to worry about cultivation resources for a long time in the future. The resources he had now were even enough to advance up to the 9th minor stage of the second big stage of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis. Once he reached this 9th minor stage, his power would be comparable to peak golden immortal experts. It was even likely that he had what it took to take on mid-stage, perfected golden immortal. Tang Xiu looked at the ass-kissing Festoon Dragonfly. He raised his hand and patted the guy's shoulder before taking out 10 crystal essences and handing them to him. These are your rewards for helping me shop and bargain in these 4 days. Dragonfly's expression became dull and incredulity filled his eyes. Even the hands holding the 10 crystal essences shivered slightly. Crystal essence? And even 10 of them? It must be known that 1 crystal essence could be exchanged to 10,000 immortal stones. 10 of them were exactly 100,000 immortal stones. Dragonfly had lived for a century or so and now was a nascent soul expert. But he never dreamed that he could earn 100,000 immortal stones in his life, such a huge number in his eyes. Tang Xiu lightly smiled in response and couldn't help but feel a bit apologetic inwardly. He really didn't mind giving more to this guy, but he only had 10 crystal essences left. Well, let's see each other again later, shall we? After saying that, he took Tang Along, Battle Pong, and the other 6 golden immortals to the border of Green Summit Bazaar. While holding the 10 crystal essences, Dragonfly slowly lifted his head and looked at Tang Xiu's back. His lips wriggled a few times and his aura suddenly burst out. Although he was very weak, tenacity and firmness filled his eyes. He straightly knelt in the direction of Tang Xiu's departure and shouted, "Sir, could you take me under you? I'm willing to follow you for eternity." Tang Xiu's pace halted. As the 8 people behind him gave way, Tang Xiu looked at Dragonfly kneeling on his knees with a strange expression. Déjà vu. It was 1,000 years ago, wasn't it? How similar are the eyes of this festooned dragonfly brat to those of the ragged and dirty little beggar. Eyes filled with gratitude, pleading, yet full of firmness and tenacity? Tang Xiu still remembered the little beggar, who he took in as a disciple. The boy followed him and devoted himself to cultivation until he became a perfected golden immortal expert. It was him who accidentally said that he wished to have a bizarre flower in the endless abyss. Little beggar crossed through thousands of immortal domains to the endless abyss, venturing deep with only a slim chance to survive just to take that strange flower out. It was precisely due to that bizarre flower that made little beggar become a target of pursuit by a large mob of perfected golden immortals, across many immortal domains. At that time, Tang Xiu was too late. He slaughtered all the perfected golden immortals there the moment he arrived and finally took the dying little beggar. He took that flower with tearful eyes as he watched his final moment as his soul disappeared. It was also at that time Tang Xiu began slaughtering the whole sects and clans of the culprits. A total of more than 48,000 immortals, including one supreme, 30+ perfected golden immortals, and too many golden immortals to count. Step by step, Tang Xiu stopped in front of Dragonfly, scrutinized those familiar eyes, and murmured, "Give me a reason. I'll give you my life and work for you. And you will make me stronger." Tang Xiu's heart twitched a few times. He could hardly believe his ears. It was the same question he asked little beggar, and that was the answer little beggar gave him. That's right. It's exactly the same, not even a word wrong or missing. Tang Xiu clenched his fists and slowly loosened them. He reached out to pick up Dragonfly and spoke with each word emphasized, "Dragonfly, you're now my disciple starting from today. I want you to work for me, but in exchange, I demand you to become stronger." "Master." Dragonfly knelt down again and directly knocked his head thrice at Tang Xiu. It was the chance he had been longing for, a long wish of becoming stronger. In his eyes, although Tang Xiu was just an ordinary immortal and shouldn't have reached the Earth immortal stage, he believed the real Tang Xiu was very powerful. After all, not just anyone had 7 golden immortals as bodyguards. Tang Along was smiling. This time, he reached out and pulled Dragonfly up and smilingly said, "My name is Tang Along, please call me Senior Martial Brother Along." Dragonfly was stunned and then called out respectfully, "Senior Martial Brother Along." Tang Along's smile turned more brilliant. He took out 9 crystal essences from his interspatial ring and handed them to Dragonfly. "Master just gave you 10 crystal essences. I can't give you more than Master gave you, so I'll give 9. Count it as a red envelope Senior Martial Brother gave you for the first meeting." "Thank you, Senior Martial Brother Along." Dragonfly gratefully replied. Tang Xiu smiled and asked, "Do you still have anything that concerns your mind here? We're not from Hessen Castle and will be leaving this immortal domain in a few months." "I have no parents and no siblings," said Dragonfly. "There's only a friend who left with a caravan 2 years ago and is not in this immortal domain." "In that case, then follow me." Tang Xiu nodded. "When you become strong in the future, there will be a day to meet your friend as long as he's still alive." "Understood." Dragonfly nodded with a firm look in his eyes. He understood what Tang Xiu meant. It was indeed close to impossible to meet his friend again in this boundless immortal world. There was only one way to meet his friend again, and that was to become a genuine powerhouse so that the whole immortal world knew his name. At that time, he would only need to speak out a word and countless people would help him find his friend. It was even possible that his friend would find him knowing his name. At the intersection of the street of Green Summit Bazaar, Tang Xiu sat in tranquility in the tea house near the gate, looking at the street below the window while savoring a cup of immortal tea. Beside him, aside from Tang Along and Dragonfly, there was only Battle Pong and a golden immortal. The other 6 golden immortals had unknowingly disappeared. Half a day passed by in a flash. One of the golden immortals named Call appeared in front of Tang Xiu. The man's eyes gleamed as he reported, "I've clearly investigated it, Master. That person is the Hunter clan's young master from Hessen Castle, a sword immortal named Scarlet Hunter. Those 4 men around him are golden immortals responsible to protect him." "You know where this guy is now?" asked Tang Xiu. "Tipsy Lunar House," Call said. "The 6 of them are secretly watching. It's not suitable for us to take action in Green Summit Bazaar, so we'll wait and see. He shouldn't be some dirt-poor layman given his status as a young master. I hope he won't let me down. I got an idea that can make him leave that place earlier, Master," said Tang Along with a smile. "What idea?" asked Tang Xiu. Tang Along leaned closer to Tang Xiu and whispered a few words. The smile on Tang Xiu's face brightened and he happily nodded in approval. "Well, the method may be crooked, but it's indeed the simplest and most effective. Carry it out. Make him leave Green Summit Bazaar ASAP." At Tipsy Lunar House, touted as the most upscale restaurant in Green Summit Bazaar, the site was known to serve gourmet dishes and fine wines, which made countless people who loved savoring good food stay and forget to go home while spending gold and silver like there was no tomorrow. As the young lord of the Hunter clan, Scarlet Hunter had a distinguished status and many preferences in life. Among them being a foodie. Immortal foie gras, sky deer tongue, and blue rubber fish. As the delicious dishes were delivered, Scarlet Hunter wolfed them down and kept downing immortal wine. After finishing the lavish meal, he wiped the corner of his mouth with satisfaction and lamented. Green Summit Bazaar is indeed a great place. So many special ingredients are unavailable in many places, yet you can find them here. Yeah, this place is so damn great. We have to turn around and buy lots of precious ingredients from the demon realm later. Understood. An old man from the 4 golden immortals replied respectfully. Scarlet Hunter then turned to look out the window. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth and he said lightly, "That brat is kind of interesting. He unexpectedly hasn't left Green Summit Bazaar yet and went on a shopping spree these days. Although many of the goods he bought are of no use to us, they can still be sold at a high price. All of you, listen to me. If he doesn't leave in 10 days, spray some soul-chasing scent on him. As long as he dares to come out of Green Summit Bazaar, I'm gonna take his life and wealth. This subordinate will definitely deal with this matter handsomely, young master," said the old man respectfully. Scarlet Hunter happily nodded and said while stroking his chin, "I forgot when was the last time I got scolded by others. How long has it been? I was honestly furious when he swore at me, but now I feel a bit odd. Don't kill him right away. I'm gonna seal his damn mouth and curse him before killing him." Suddenly, his ears shifted. Half an hour later, his expression was that of disbelief and a flame of anger blazed in his eyes. His gaze shifted to the street below the window and locked on several passers-by who were merrily talking while hurrying on the road. He gritted his teeth and said, "Go and get those punks." Chapter 1308 Robbery. In front of outsiders, Scarlet Hunter was always self-righteous and clean. He regarded the reputation of his clan and himself more important than his own life. Even though he committed many despicable deeds, those were done in secret and he always tried his best to erase all the traces as early as possible. However, he overheard the passers-by below all discrediting and smearing him. Not only did they say that he was shameful and insidious, but they also said that he was homosexual and had male pets in private. *CK these punks. Scarless Hunter clenched his fists, eyes filled with madness and killing intent as he watched those 4 passers-by's limbs discarded like dead dogs. He got up and came to the man who just smeared him. Grabbing his mantle, he fiercely shouted, "This god is that Scarless Hunter, the young lord of Hunter clan. What kind of enmity did we ever have that would even make you throw such dirt on my face and ruin my reputation?" The man whose limbs were discarded stared fearfully. He shook his head desperately and said, No, this lowly has no qualification to contract any enmity with young Lord Hunter. It all comes from the rumors flying everywhere in Green Summit Bazaar. Everything I talked about I heard from others. Come again. Scarless Hunter was paralyzed. Even in his wildest dream he never once thought that someone would go so far to spread out such rumors about him. Who was trying to smear his name? Who was it that wanted him to be notoriously infamous? He didn't notice that many people in the restaurant were looking at him. He didn't realize that his action of sending his 4 henchmen to beat these 4 passers-by out of fury had all been witnessed by these people. All rumors heard were confirmed by witnessing the deeds. It was for this reason that every rumor that slandered him had been deliberately carried out and now taken seriously, in everyone's eyes. At the side, the eyes of the old man leader filled with chilling light and he said, "Someone must have intentionally spread the rumors, young lord. They definitely want to ruin your reputation. Your subordinate will find them and make them die without a burial ground. Investigate and find them." Scarless Hunter snapped. "Those who dare bully me must be torn into pieces." Everyone who witnessed this scene exchanged glances. Killing the culprits so they would die without burial grounds? Even going so far as to shred them to pieces? Just from the statement alone, it was enough to see how vicious this person was. The passerby whose limbs were discarded and left on the floor suddenly looked horrified and cried out, I know who the rumormonger is. They have left Green Summit Bazaar and I overheard they're heading to the Blackwind Woods." "Who are these people?" shouted Scarless Hunter aloud. "I dunno. We really have no idea who they are." The passerby desperately replied, "I just heard there's someone among them spreading the rumors and, after shouting that, he said that they're going to the Blackwind Woods to hunt some beasts. But we're not sure if he's the first person who spread the rumors. I don't give a fuck whether he's the culprit or not. Those who dare to fabricate and spread rumors to slander me must pay a painful price." Scarless Hunter coldly hummed. "Let's head to the Blackwind Woods." At the side, one of the golden immortal oldsters said, "Young master, this is unreliable news. Those people did not necessarily go to the Blackwind Woods. I'd rather believe it than to have no leads whatsoever." Scarless Hunter sneered. "We'll definitely find those punks as long as we follow the leads." 15 minutes later. Scarless Hunter, along with his 4 golden immortal subordinates, appeared at the street junction of Green Summit Bazaar. His sharp eyes swept across the side of the tea house and he snorted coldly before leaving. He believed that the guy who scolded him was the kind who would go soft after getting subdued. Yet, he was still far better than those who spread the rumors and slandered him, the kind he hated the most. 15 minutes passed by. Tang Shou led Tang Along, Dragonfly, and Battlepung towards the Blackwind Woods direction given by the other 6 golden immortal subordinates. They advanced moderately, and half an hour later, they appeared near a group of people fighting. Boom. A streak of light struck the chest of an early-stage golden immortal from the Hunter clan, causing his body to fly upside down like a snapped kite. Scarless Hunter and the other 3 golden immortals looked terrified. They wanted to rescue their companions, but these 6 enemies were so strong that they were left in despair. "It's him." The moment Scarless Hunter saw Tang Shou's group, the look of despair on his face turned more visible. At this moment, he would be stupid if he was unable to realize that all this farce was aimed to trap him. He could even tell that the very people who spread the rumors to slander him were Tang Xiu and his men. "Who the hell are you, thief punk?" Scarlet Hunter furiously growled while fighting back desperately. Wearing a contemptuous smile, Tang Xiu laughed aloud and said, "Ha! No need to know who I am. It was you who chose to be a foolish ghost."
Meh.
Wrong. You're gonna be the goners as it's impossible for you to be a confused ghost, no? You voluntarily admitted defeat at Green Summit Bazaar. Scarlet Hunter furiously growled again. Was it intentional on your part? Of course it was. Tang Xiu smilingly replied, if I didn't do it on purpose, wouldn't that be so cheap for that great demon shop owner since you'd give him your millions of immortal crystals? Instead of giving him free money, I might as well leave it for me to grab. Speaking of it, I gotta thank you. I wouldn't have dared spend all my immortal crystals and crystal essences if you didn't aim your killing intent at me. Are you not afraid of my hunter clan's revenge? Scarlet Hunter shouted angrily.
Ha!
Killing and destroying is what I'm best at. Tang Xiu sneered. You think your hunter clan will find out who killed you today? Hey, you guys, do best and take care of your safety. Understood. The 6 golden immortals no longer held back. All of them were ruthless characters who frequented the edge of life and death countless times. Even their artifacts and weapons were refined by Tang Xiu, causing their power to soar compared to before. Slash. 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 Sword beams kept flickering, accompanied by blade light flying in all directions. Scarlet Hunter only watched as his 3 golden immortal protectors got slaughtered easily by the enemy. Even their immortal souls couldn't escape and were twisted and crushed by immortal swords and artifacts into oblivion. He had been through many crises before, yet he had never been so close to death like now. Don't kill me, I'll give you back the poison miasma pill and another 10 million immortal crystals. Tang Xiu rolled his eyes and scolded him. Are you an idiot? As long as you're killed, that poison miasma pill and the 10 million immortal crystals won't be the only things that will be mine. All your wealth will be mine. Take him on and kill him. Puff. Scarlet Hunter was beheaded and his body shattered in an instant. Even his immortal soul was destroyed by sword qi and disappeared between heaven and earth. Tang Xiu received 5 interspatial rings. After erasing the marks on them, his spiritual sense swept through the space inside and he immediately looked happy. He found quite a lot of wealth in them. There were 2.4 million crystal essences alone and countless immortal stones and crystals. The total wealth added up was worth more than 310 million. Further, there were also a lot of cultivation resources and many precious items in Scarlet Hunter's ring. As for the rings of the other 4 golden immortals, there were also a large number of immortal stones, crystals, and crystal essences. The final number after he counted them was 4.6 million crystal essences, 120 million immortal crystals, and 80 million immortal stones. The rest of the items were worth around 5 million crystal essences. Destroy the traces of the fight and evacuate immediately. Tang Xiu was reluctant to clash with the Hunter clan. He was perfectly aware that the current strength of the Great Tang Empire was not yet able to take on this clan. After all, this clan had a perfected golden immortal at the helm. Once both sides fought, even if they were able to find foreign aid and had 9 nether swordmeisters help, they were bound to suffer huge losses. 2 hours later. Tang Xiu had left the scene by tens of thousands of kilometers when tens of figures flickered and moved lightning fast, in the Blackwind Woods. All these figures were experts from the Hunter clan. The clan's ancestor had conjured a secret art and finally determined the place where the 5 people were killed, which pointed to this place. However, they searched hard for a long time only to find traces of fight here, but they were unable to find the remains of Scarlet Hunter's group of 5. In the next few days, they even searched the entire Green Summit Bazaar, collecting various news and intel, yet no information about the murderer could be found. In the dark court, the round ball-like demon Venerable watched as the several powerhouses of the Hunter clan left with gleaming eyes. He didn't expect that the young man who bought a lot of things here turned out to have such great courage to kill the Hunter clan's young lord. It must be noted that in the Hessen Castle Immortal domain, aside from Madame Empyrean Lady and 2 other clans that were stronger than the Hunter clan, there was no other that could take on the Hunters. Killing this clan's young lord was as bold as it was audacious. Listen. You're forbidden to reveal even half a word of anything that has transpired here, capiche? Else, don't blame me for being ruthless. Great Demon Venerable spoke with all seriousness after being silent for a long while. Several men nodded one after another. One of them then curiously said, "Venerable, do you think that person was?" "Shut up." Great Demon Venerable coldly shut him off. The man shrunk and looked terrified. Great Demon Venerable forced a wry smile and said, "We're business people. Our purpose is to make money. We're not to get involved in any affairs that arise out of anything. Besides, I have a hunch that Hessen Castle won't be quiet in the future." Another man looked puzzled and said, "Venerable one, even if the Hunter clan's young lord was killed, it won't necessarily have any impact on the entire situation of Hessen Castle, right? At most, the Hunters will just cause some trouble." Great Demon Venerable sneered. "Do you think that fella is some weak layman even if he dares to kill the Hunter's young master? Do you think he has no eminent background himself? Most importantly, the Hunter's young master himself was very strong and his 4 henchmen were golden immortal powerhouses. Yet they can be slaughtered silently and all the traces have been erased. Do you think such a party is weak?" Chapter 1309 Getting Robbed. Great Demon Venerable turned to look outside the shop and spoke in a much toned-down voice. Quite a large number of powerhouses came to Hessen Castle recently. Some of them are perfected golden immortals. The rest of the powerhouses from several neighboring immortal domains came due to the gamble between 9 Nether Swordmeister and Venerable Netherworld. They are rushing to moon-gazing Monarch City. On the surface, the entire moon-gazing Monarch City looks to be stable, but some dark tides are working in the background already. If the news of the Hunter clan's young master were to carelessly leak out from the wild guesses coming from your mouths, you can expect that we will be in for huge trouble. Several folks exchanged looks and finally realized the seriousness of the matter and promised never to talk nonsense anymore. Great Demon Venerable waved his hand and said, "I'm giving you 100 immortal crystals each later on. You are to stay in the shop and cultivate all the time. I'm going to stroll around to meet some old buddies of mine." At the Stargazing Pavilion, Tang Xiao had just returned and learned from Gu Yan that 6 Spirit Formation stage members of the Tiger Army, as well as a high official of Great Tang Empire Chen Xiaohua, had encountered an ambush of an unidentified group of experts. The other party had an immortal at the rear, but luckily for their side, the immortal monster who protected them appeared in time and saved them from being killed. "Who is the other party?" asked Tang Xiao with a cold, heavy voice. "There's no news yet. Our intelligence department has yet to set up an intel network here and, due to our unfamiliarity with this place and its natives, we have yet able to figure out who the other party is," Gu Yan said. "However, 2 golden immortals have been dispatched to catch up with them. They should be able to solve the issues there." "Where's the place?" asked Tang Xiao. "At the dry spot of Deep Soil River," Gu Yan said. "Let's go take a look." Tang Xiao said, "We met quite a lot of powerhouses on the way back. Many of them should be catching up from other immortal domains. I think moon-gazing Monarch City won't be too peaceful in the coming days." Feeling puzzled, Gu Yan asked, "What kind of major event is going to happen here? Is the gamble between 2 perfected golden immortals not a major event in itself?" Tang Xiao said lightly, "This Hessen Castle is just a small immortal domain as there's no supremacy stage expert here. Hence, matters pertaining to perfected golden immortals are already serious and terrifying issues to the billion other walks of life here. You're right, Master. Gu Yan nodded after hearing. There are probably a few perfected golden immortals in the entire Hessen Castle domain. Even among millions of perfected golden immortals, the emergence of someone advancing to the supremacy stage among them is not necessarily happening, so the gambling between two perfected golden immortals is indeed a big deal here. However, the cultivation level of our great Tang Empire's people is not yet high. If you are to restrain them and just let them understand the situation in the immortal world and prevent them from making trouble, I think it shouldn't be a problem. Our empire has too many people and accidents will inevitably happen, Tang Xiu said. I've decided to visit the convict arena again in the near future to buy another batch of golden immortals. We have 20 golden immortals and the number is far too few indeed. Buying another batch would indeed enable us to deal with any danger we encounter in the future. Gu Yan nodded. In the dry area of Deep Soil River, 2 golden immortals of the Great Tang Empire, celestial immortal stage immortal monsters, stood in front of Chen Xiaohua and the 6 members of the Tiger Army, facing a group of immortals in front. At this moment, green blood drenched the celestial immortal stage immortal monster's attire. Even the immortal sword in his hand had been cut to half, whereas Chen Xiaohua and the 6 members of the Tiger Army were all scarred and looked extremely miserable. As for the other party, the group consisted of 18 people in total. Aside from a profound immortal expert among them, there were 4 celestial immortals and the rest were cultivators at the spirit formation stage. The 4 celestial immortals and that profound immortal surrounded a spirit formation stage young cultivator. The youth looked very young, apparently in his 17 plus of age. His figure was lean and his face was pale, but an unruly and rebellious look was apparent on his face. Hand over that purple diamond alloy and lay down your life. Else, the moment my Nightwolf clan's elders arrive here is when you're gonna die without a burial ground. The boy's murderous eyes locked on the Great Tang Empire's members as he threatened. Although Chen Xiaohua was seriously injured, his eyes shone coldly. After walking to the side of 2 golden immortals, he coldly said, "We're the first who get the purple diamond alloy, so why should we give it to you? I already told you that you can have it if you pay 1 million immortal crystals, else don't even think about it." The teenager clenched his fists with eyes filled with killing intent. He stroked his chin and said, "No one dares snatch anything Wondersky Nightwolf takes a liking to. No one. You must still hand it over to me even if you get it first. Your young lord is now upset, so fucking deeply upset. I'll make you die without a burial ground if you don't give it to me now." Having said that, a purple gold gourd appeared in his hand out of thin air. He pulled out the cork and drank immortal wine, proudly stating, "You should be from other immortal domains, right? To think that you never heard of Nightwolf clan, you truly are blissfully ignorant. Let me tell you. My Nightwolf clan is one of the strongest powers in moon-gazing Monarch City. We have countless golden immortals and our ancestor is a late-stage golden immortal. Pity that ancestor just has to meet his friends in moon-gazing Monarch City. But it's likely ancestor can immediately rush here. You're all gonna die very miserably if you don't hand over that purple diamond alloy." A late-stage golden immortal? The 2 late-stage golden immortals' eyes flashed with contempt. However, they were only responsible to protect the Great Tang Empire's people, and it was not convenient to deal with the matters themselves. Therefore, they just looked at Chen Xiaohua. As long as Chen Xiaohua ordered, they would immediately strike and go for the kill. Chen Xiaohua, however, was a bit hesitant. He had no idea that the 2 powerhouses around him were also late-stage golden immortals. He recalled His Majesty's order not to commit anything that would cause trouble outside. Further, he didn't know much about the situation in the immortal world, and he was unclear about how large the power of the clans in the immortal world was. Therefore, he kept hesitating, at a loss of how he should proceed. Suddenly, everyone shifted their attention to the direction of moon-gazing Monarch City since they could sense the coming of several enormous auras in their direction. Among them was an aura that made the two golden immortal powerhouses of the Great Tang Empire feel a sense of crisis. Whoosh. 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 In just several breaths, the tens of figures appeared in front of everyone. Wonder Sky, I received your distress message. What's going on here? An old man in front inquisitively asked with creased brows. Wonder Sky Nightwolf hurriedly cried out, Ancestor, the purple diamond alloy I fancied was robbed by this group of punks. Originally, the fight was between juniors below the immortal stage. But when they found they can't take us on, that immortal monster got involved. After not being able to beat us, then came some other helpers. Those two guys are likely profound immortals. Vastly martial Nightwolf. He was the ancestor of the Nightwolf clan who had broken through to the perfected golden immortal stage decades ago. Being a low-key person, only a handful of people in the whole moon-gazing monarch city knew that he had become a perfected golden immortal. He looked at the two golden immortals of the Great Tang Empire with slightly creased brows. He could keenly sense that even though these two fellows had golden immortal aura, there was something about them that made him slightly vigilant. Just some trivial and weak late-stage golden immortals. Just kill them if you want to. The eyes of a middle-aged fatty standing next to vastly martial Nightwolf flashed with disdain as he stated indifferently. Recalling his own status as a perfected golden immortal and also 9 Nether Swordmeister, a mid-stage perfected golden immortal next to him, vastly martial suddenly relaxed. He then sneered and said, Indeed, golden immortals do have some capabilities, but killing them is still a very easy thing to do. Chen Xiaohua's expression changed. He was keenly aware of the discolored expressions of the two golden immortals around him. The sight immediately gave birth to a bad hunch in his heart. He knew that he likely ran into a troublesome matter. However, he gritted his teeth and paced a few steps forwards and spoke in a heavy voice. You may all powerhouses and are likely perfected golden immortals. But this matter has nothing to do with the rest of the Great Tang Empire's people. I admit that I'm not your opponent at all. I'll hand over the purple diamond alloy and you can kill all of us, but leave out the rest as they're not involved. What kind of shit is this Great Tang Empire, huh? A bunch of cowards? Vastly martial Nightwolf sneered. He was about to strike after saying that when at the side, 9 Nether Swordmeister, whose expression turned strange, quickly raised his hand to stop him when he was about to attack. The fatty looked at Chen Xiaohua and asked, You said you're the Great Tang Empire's people? Is there anyone in the Great Tang Empire called the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor? Great Tang Heavenly Emperor? Chen Xiaohua knew that it was Tang Xiu's alias in the immortal world and replied indifferently, He's the emperor of our Great Tang Empire. 9 Nether Swordmeister was stunned. He immediately shifted to the two golden immortals and asked, You both were purchased by Great Tang Heavenly Emperor from the convict arena, weren't you? One of them answered, Indeed. 9 Nether Swordmeister let out a forced, wry smile and waved his hand. Hey, brother vastly martial, let's cut this off and forget it, shall we? I'll be a peacemaker here and give the purple diamond alloy to this Great Tang Empire's people. Vastly martial Nightwolf was surprised and asked, Brother 9 Nether, do you know this Great Tang Heavenly Emperor? Not only do I know him, but I was also even the one who bought these two golden immortals from Convict Arena myself and gave them to Tang Lil Bro. Originally, he purchased a total of 20 late-stage golden immortals from Convict Arena. Gasp. Incredulity painted vastly Marshall's face and he blurted out in amazement, Brother 9 Nether, what is the origin of this Great Tang Heavenly Emperor? To think that he was worth your... Speaking about it, I'm very curious about Tang Lil Bro's identity myself. 9 Nether Swordmeister interrupted him. But everyone has their own secrets. He was unwilling to disclose it to me, so I naturally didn't force him. Further, I had a gamble with him before and didn't expect that I'd actually lose to him. That's why he's also one of my foreign aides 3 months later. Chapter 13:10 The Dogs of the Paw. Vastly Martial Nightwolf pondered for a moment before he silently nodded. Since Brother Nine Nether is playing the peacemaker, it's all fine then. It's just a trivial purple diamond alloy, something that doesn't enter my eyes either. Wondersky Nightwolf himself had no idea about the identity of Nine Nether Swordmeister. He was anxious after hearing the statement and shouted, "Why do you listen to outsiders' words, ancestor? That purple diamond alloy can strengthen my bones and make them as strong as a crossing tribulation expert's. You must help me obtain it." What a disgraceful brat. A cold glint flashed in Vastly Martial Nightwolf's eyes. Although feeling reluctant, he still slapped Wondersky's face, sending the youth several meters away before he slowly turned around and looked towards moon-gazing Monarch City. At the same time, everyone else also shifted to the direction of moon-gazing Monarch City since they could sense several huge auras coming over. "Hey, Brother Nine Nether. I didn't expect you to be here." Surrounded by a group of people, Tang Xiu came to the front of the crowd with a bright smile on his handsome face. "I was originally in moon-gazing Monarch City, chatting with Brother Vastly Martial myself. But I didn't expect him to receive a distress message for help from his offspring, so I followed him here. Much to my surprise, I didn't expect that Nightwolf Clans Jr. turned out to have some dispute with your people." Tang Xiu nodded with a smile and quickly threw 8 immortal healing pills to Chen Xiaohua's group. Then, he turned to Vastly Martial Nightwolf and lightly smiled. "Then you're Sir Vastly Martial Nightwolf, yes?" Vastly Martial frowned deeply, for he never thought that the foreign aide mentioned by Nine Nether Swordmeister turned out to be a young man, who seemed to have just become an immortal a while ago. Yet, he dared to give himself the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor title? Vastly Martial shook his head secretly. He was about to speak in order to give face to Nine Nether Swordmeister when his eyes inadvertently glanced at Gu Yan at the rear. "What?" Vastly Martial's expression froze. His pupils shrank all of a sudden and his figure shook violently. In the next moment, he staggered backward a few steps, pointing and looking at Gu Yan with a terrified face. Gu Yan pursed her brows deeply as she didn't expect she would meet her former acquaintance in this remote immortal domain. Pacing a step forward, she indifferently said, well, a dog of mine in the past turned out to have become a solemn perfected golden immortal, huh? Had I known earlier such a thing would happen today, I should have slaughtered you directly to save wasting our time here." Vastly Martial's face was uglier than crying. Amidst the confused expression of everyone from Nightwolf Clan and Nine Nether Swordmeister alike in the surrounding, he staggered forward toward Gu Yan step by step. Beads of sweat profusely dribbled down his forehead, face, and neck. 10 meters away from Gu Yan, he knelt on the ground and powerfully knocked his forehead on the ground, stuttered with a fearful expression. You're. This small one is really damned. This one had no idea that they are your people. Please. Please forgive this small one's dog life. I beg you." Such a scene made everyone dumbfounded with disbelief filling their eyes. Nine Nether Swordmeister, on the other hand, looked very vigilant and a tempestuous storm was set in his heart. It must be noted that Vastly Martial Nightwolf was a perfected golden immortal powerhouse. Even if he just advanced to the perfected golden immortal stage not long ago, being able to reach this level meant that he was very powerful himself. Yet, such a dignified and dazzling perfected golden immortal unexpectedly acted like a dog and knelt in front of Gu Yan and desperately begged for mercy? What did that mean? That meant the woman next to Great Tang Heavenly Emperor was absolutely a very terrifying existence. Gu Yan just glanced at the man indifferently. She then turned to Tang Xiu and respectfully said, "Master, back when I went on a rampage in some immortal domains, I was too lazy to wipe out some ants, so I caught some ruthless characters to carry out my whims to decimate those people. I remember that his brat was just a trivial golden immortal back then." Master? Master? Vastly Martial was so terrified that he nearly peed his pants. Back in the past, this female devil was so terrifyingly powerful. Yet, she actually addressed this great Tang Heavenly Emperor as her master? Heavens! Then, they were intentionally hiding their power? These fucking people were playing pigs to devour the tiger. Tang Xiu gently nodded and looked the kneeling vastly martial Nightwolf on the ground. He quickly thought deeply about how to solve this issue. Their identity was very important and must not be easily revealed. Gu Yan once told him that, even though she had killed many people back when she was rampaging in the immortal world, only a few people knew that she was his disciple. In other words, this guy knew just how terrifying Gu Yan was and thus, couldn't directly guess who he really was through Gu Yan. Further, this man was a perfected golden immortal. If both sides really went so far and finally clashed, his side would likely have to pay quite a huge price even if they did win. Then, Tang Xiu sighed and said, "You know, Yan, Master has told you many times already. Never kill the innocent indiscriminately. You used to be so naughty and wreak havoc everywhere and I've never restrained you. But I won't allow you to mess around anymore. After all, he has worked for you in the past and is not an enemy. Just let him go." Gu Yan understood his intention and shifted to vastly martial again, saying indifferently what should be done and should not, as well as what should be said and should not. "You know very well about my rules, don't you?" Vastly martial Nightwolf looked ecstatic and nodded desperately. "Yes, yes. This ugly one will respectfully carry out your rules. Things that shouldn't be carried out will never be committed, and words that shouldn't come out must never be revealed. Scram and go back to your turf." Gu Yan said, "You're not allowed to come out for the next century." "Yes, yes, yes. This ugly one will scram right away." Vastly martial looked grateful and waved his sleeves. The remaining people of Nightwolf clan exploded and turned into a blood mist, killed by him in a flash. The man himself seemed to have grown more legs and couldn't wait to run away in distress into the distance. Nine Nether Swordmeister was now completely shaken. Never once in his wildest dreams did he think such a solemn perfected golden immortal powerhouse like vastly martial Nightwolf would be so terrified to this extent. He even killed his own descendants just because of the identity of the other party. How terrified he really was. Tang Xiu could only shake his head secretly. Then, he looked at Nine Nether Swordmeister and smilingly said,
"Ah.
I'm ashamed that you had to see such a scene, brother Nine Nether." Nine Nether Swordmeister gulped down quietly and forced out a wry smile. "That can't be counted as a joke. Even it gives me some fright here. Brother vastly martial Nightwolf, for good or bad, he's also a perfected golden immortal himself, yet I never thought that he..." "Hey, forget it. I understand that there are things that are not supposed to be said or asked. Anyway, brother Great Tang, my gambling event is just less than 3 months away, so I hope I can count on your help more." "No worries." Tang Xiu nodded and smilingly said, "I'll definitely do my best." Nine Nether Swordmeister glanced at Gu Yan again and bade farewell before he left. He had secretly guessed at the moment that Gu Yan had been deliberately hiding her strength. Other than for that reason, how come a golden immortal could force a perfected golden immortal to such a terrified state? At this moment, only Tang Xiu's group remained here. "Master, would you like me to kill that vastly martial Nightwolf?" asked Gu Yan through a voice transmission. "Does he know your true identity and the relationship between us?" asked Tang Xiu. "He knows my true identity, but he doesn't know our relationship," answered Gu Yan. "Him knowing your true identity is a troublesome issue in itself." Tang Xiu said, "Others may not know our relationship, but a handful knows it, including Heavenly Emperor Tianji and Shade Demon Zhu Wushou. Removing him is a must before we leave." "In that case, we may have to stay here longer," Gu Yan replied. Tang Xiu thought for a moment and said, "No need. I'm preparing to leave for the Heavenly Net Immortal Domain and I'll be back before the gamble between Nine Nether Swordmeister, with his enemy." "What exactly are you going to do?" Gu Yan hurriedly asked with a changed expression. I'm going to purchase deathmatch fighters again, said Tang Xiu. Do you perhaps want to buy a perfected golden immortal gladiator, by chance? Gu Yan asked. You also know that each perfected golden immortal gladiator is terrifyingly powerful, don't you? Do we have so many crystal essences? A perfected golden immortal gladiator used to be available for purchase for some tens of millions crystal essences, Tang Xiu said. I got a lot of crystal essences right now, enough to buy a perfected golden immortal gladiator. When I go to the Heavenly Net Immortal Domain, I'll find some ways to obtain more crystal essences and try to buy some perfected golden immortal gladiators. Shall I accompany you there, Master? I won't feel at ease otherwise, Gu Yan said. Don't forget my previous identity, Yan, Tang Xiu calmly said. I still have my own way to survive since I could become a supreme. Also, you cannot leave moon-gazing Monarch City for the time being. I can tell that guy is definitely not fully at ease and he'll definitely send people to keep tabs on you. Only if you stay at moon-gazing Monarch City can that guy feel at ease, I reckon. Gu Yan nodded wordlessly and said, then you must take all those golden immortals with you, Master. No. I'll only take Battle Pong and 4 others. The rest will stay with you, Tang Xiu said. Traveling with a few people won't be easy to be noticed by others, and I won't be in danger once I've bought some perfected golden immortals by then. About this, Gu Yan still wanted to argue more. But after seeing Tang Xiu's firm expression, she finally had no choice but to agree. Shortly after, the group returned to moon-gazing Monarch City. After Tang Xiu, Gu Yan, and the rest waltzed into the stargazing pavilion under the attention of many people, Tang Xiu took Battle Pung and 4 other golden immortals 2 days later and left quietly. Aside from the elderly golden immortal from stargazing pavilion, no one else knew about his departure. There was only one immortal domain between Hessen Castle and Heavenly Net Immortal Domains. Tang Xiu's group of 6 only spent a week before they arrived in the Heavenly Net Immortal Domain. Although they encountered some troubles along the way, the aura released by Battle Pong and the others were able to scare off all the troubles and thus avoid fighting.